Horror stories has always been a favorite genre. Horror is a combination of an adrenal rush and an opportunity to learn about dealing with scary situations. Welcome to Timeless Stories with Nina. I am your host Nina. In each episode of my podcast, I shall share a story. Stories of the known and the unknown. Stories of adventure. Stories of love. Stories of thriller. Stories of fantasy. Stories, in my opinion, help us to briefly escape from the monotonous cycle of life. Close your eyes and dive into your power of imagination while you hear me narrating a story of your favorite genre. Welcome to the episode 4 of Timeless Stories with Nina. It is the first horror story of my podcast. Harmonium is an original story written by Debapriyo. Set amidst the royalty and timelessness of Kolkata, which was the first British capital of India, Harmonium is a spine-chilling thriller, and the writer has done a fantastic job of capturing every scene with great detail. The city of Kolkata comes with a rich legacy of a heritage-driven culture. Over the centuries, Kolkata and its adjoining districts played host to several foreign colonies such as the French, the Portuguese, the British and the Mughals. In this process, the city has been highly influenced by a diverse culture and lifestyle. Kolkata has been a hub of royalty and lavishness throughout history. From horse racing to the club culture, the city portrays its unique style of royalty. Vintage car rally is among one such royalty-driven sport the city has been hosting since the 1960s. Every year during winter, the city witnesses a convoy of priceless vintage cars, which the participants flaunt with great pride. One such profound competitor in this annual rally is Pratap Singh Roy. Pratap Singh Roy is the only surviving heir of the Singh Roy Zamindari clan of Muchipara in Kolkata. A 55-year-old man with salt and pepper hair, moderately built, with a height of 5 feet 8 inches, unmarried, Pratap has no dearth of wealth owing to his family inheritance, of course. He owns about 20 family properties across the city which have been put on rent. The rent he earns is comfortable enough to maintain his lavish lifestyle. He lives in a 30-room family mansion with a sprawling lawn, a ballroom and a huge courtyard. There was a time when the Singh Roy mansion was the choicest party destination for all the rich people of the city. It would boom with laughter, political arguments, jokes, card games, billiard matches, among many other indoor sports. The ballroom particularly carries numerous memories of noted Indian Western classical singers and dancers who have performed on various occasions. The Annapurna Puja that used to be celebrated in the courtyard was one of the grandest in the city. The mansion, which at one time housed more than 50 people and hosted over 100 people at any given point, in present times stands as a relic of its old glory. Currently, the only residing members are Pratap and Hari. Like every other asset that Pratap has inherited, Hari is the only surviving inherited servant of the house and Pratap's only companion. A 70-year-old man, Hori has been residing in the Singhoroy mansion since he was 12. He has witnessed the birth of Pratap and has been his caretaker since then. Pratap has employed 5 more staff to take care of housekeeping and other odd jobs, but they do not stay in the mansion. They work during the daytime and leave in the evening. Hori supervises these staff and takes over Pratap's requirement once the staff leaves. The Singhoroy mansion is a museum of art and artifacts collected from various parts of the world across generations. Pratap too has inherited the hobby of collecting antiques. He would visit various auctions and pick up antiques that attracted him, irrespective of the history or legacy. Some of his strange collectibles include a water tap made of ivory, a comb made out of sandalwood, a very old tribal flute made of clay. In fact, his most prized possession till now is a Rudra Veena from the Mughal era. Out of the 9 exclusive grandfather clocks that he owns, 4 of them are from his own collection. Over time, the mansion also came to be known as Ghanta Ghar. When these clocks would strike together 8 times in a day at 12, 3, 6 and 9, the whole mansion would buzz with the sound of bells like a symphony. Pratap is not a socialite. Though he continues to live the lifestyle of the Singhoroys, he likes to spend his time clubbing with some of his childhood friends. Often they would meet up in a club or at the ballroom of his mansion and play the game of bridge over a few glasses of single malt. Many a times, the game of bridge would follow by classical music or Rabindra Sangeet. Pratap carries a fine taste in music. As a child, he was trained in classical vocals, and since then, his passion for Indian classical music, thumri and ghazals continued. In his lone time, he would indulge in reading novels while listening to music of his choice. In a spring afternoon on a Tuesday, Pratap finds himself bored and decides to take a boat ride on the river Ganges. He drives down to Prinsep Ghat and takes a boat ride for nearly 2 hours. Feeling a little fresh and relaxed, Pratap contemplates on his next move for the day. He decides to visit the Oxford store in Park Street to look through the newly published books. After browsing through the collections, Pratap buys 2 newly published novels and drinks his evening cup of Darjeeling tea at the cafe inside the store. As he walks down to the other side of the road to get his car, he is suddenly drawn by a small auction house on the way. He has never been here before. It is nearly dark, so he decides to quickly browse through the collection and move out early. An ardent collector by passion, Pratap is known by most auctioneers in the city. So, as Pratap walks into the shop, the auctioneer welcomes him with a wide grin, as though he has known him for years. He introduces himself as Obuni Shen, who used to work as an assistant curator in one of the auction houses that Pratap frequents. This is a new business venture which Obuni has joined as a partner. He takes Pratap through his collections of paintings, murals, musical instruments. Pratap meticulously goes through each of the items, but nothing seems interesting enough for him to invest on. Bidding goodbye to Obuni and promising to visit him again, Pratap suddenly notices an abandoned harmonium stacked at the far end of the shop. On inquiring about the harmonium, Obuni could not offer any history. The instrument is a part of a bulk purchase that came along with few other collectibles from his supplier. It has been lying abandoned since then. It looks old and worn out. When Pratap tries to play the harmonium, it plays a little out of tune. Pratap wants to know the price of the instrument. Obuni tells him that he has not fixed any price yet, as it needs to be tuned and polished. But for some reason, Pratap feels extremely drawn to the instrument and insists on buying it. They agree on a price of Rs 5,000 and Pratap gets the harmonium home. The harmonium has been kept on a divan in the ballroom along with the Rudrabina and other instruments. The next day, Pratap is enthused to start his vocal practices with his new instrument. While he tries to play the harmonium, he realizes the instrument is a little out of tune and needs a proper tuning. He plans to call for a repairing professional over the weekend. That very night, after retiring to bed at around 10 p.m., Pratap suddenly wakes up at the sound of a faint music. He turns on his bedside lamp. The sound of the grandfather clocks tell him it is midnight. Who is playing music at this late hour? He asks to himself. With sleepy eyes, he initially thinks the sound must be coming from his neighborhood. But after some time, as he regains his senses, he realizes the sound seems to be coming from downstairs. He is a little anxious now. Walking through faintly lit corridors, he takes the stairs to reach the hall. As he reaches the hall, he turns on a light. The sound gets louder. He realizes that it is the sound of his harmonium. Most importantly, the notes are playing in perfect tune. He approaches the ballroom with several questions in his mind. Who is playing? How is it playing in perfect tune? As he reaches the ballroom and stops at the entrance to reach out for the switchboard on the left wall, the sound stops instantly. He turns on a light. He notices no sign of any human entity in the room. The harmonium is lying in the same place, covered with a velvet cloth, just the way he had kept it in the morning. After inspecting the room thoroughly and finding nothing suspicious, he is about to leave the room when he takes a glance at the harmonium once again. What he notices this time is the bellow of the harmonium is open. This puts him in a state of confusion because as far as he can remember, in the morning he had closed the bellow before putting on the velvet cover. The silence now is a little uncomfortable. Just a few minutes ago, he could clearly listen to the sound of the harmonium playing in perfect tune, while the music stopped as he entered, and there was nobody in the room. He tries to reason with himself and finally decides to believe that it must have been him who left the bellow open by mistake in the morning. Pratap walks up to his bedroom, but he still carries one question with him. Who was playing the harmonium? He fails to reason with himself on not listening to any such music because he remembers clearly every note of the ragimon that was being played in the harmonium some minutes ago. With this intriguing thought, he falls asleep after a while. The next morning, when Hori brings Pratap his tea, Pratap asks him if he had listened to the sound of any musical instrument in the middle of the night. Hori has the habit of taking opium before bedtime. Hence, he cannot remember listening to any such music as he must have been in deep sleep. As the day progresses, Pratap gets involved in his other day-to-day jobs and gradually forgets about the incident of last night. On Friday evening, his friends come over for their usual game of bridge. It is a cloudy evening, and the friends decide to raise a toast to celebrate the cool weather. After certain pegs of single malt, they indulge into music. They insist Pratap to sing a thumri, when Pratap suddenly remembers his harmonium. A little high and happy, Pratap sits on the divan where the harmonium is kept, takes out the velvet cover and starts playing the instrument. The harmonium this time plays awfully out of tune, much worse than what it played 2 days ago. And as it happens between friends, he is badly mocked on his wrong choice of purchase this time. And it is needless to say, Pratap feels a little let down. At around 8:30, the weather takes a turn with thunderstorm and rains. His friends decide to leave early as the intensity of the rain may lead to waterlogging on roads. After his friends leave, Hori clears up the ballroom. Pratap walks up to the divan, looks at the harmonium for a while, and decides to call for the repairing professional the very next day. After ensuring that he closes the bellow of the harmonium this time and covers it with the velvet cloth, he leaves for the dining room. Having a light dinner, Pratap walks up to his bedroom. He has had a long day, so he plans to retire early to bed today. He lies down and browses through one of the books he had bought a couple of days ago from the Oxford bookstore. After reading a few pages, he gets so engrossed in the book that he loses track of time until the grandfather clocks strike their 12 loud bells. Realizing it is midnight, he decides to sleep when he hears someone playing Rag Malhar. It is raining quite heavily outside. He is sure that the sound is coming from the ballroom where the instrument is kept. While the sound of Malhar is sounding extremely soothing amidst the heavy rain, he finds the experience highly uncanny this time, especially after what had happened 2 nights ago and in the evening before while his friends were around. He turns on the light of his bedroom. Assimilating some courage, he walks down the staircase through the faintly lit corridor and reaches the hall. This time, he turns on more lights in the hall and walks towards the ballroom. The sound gets louder. He decides to wake up Hori first and take him along before entering the ballroom. He walks up to Hori's room, which is adjacent to the dining area. Deep asleep, owing to his opium intake, Hori is unperturbed with the music that is playing so loud at this time of the night. Without calling his name, Pratap shakes Hori vigorously. Hori wakes up startled and, realizing it is his master who woke him up, regains his senses instantly. Both of them silently walks towards the ballroom. Undoubtedly, it is the harmonium that is playing. It is playing a beautiful Rag Malhar in absolute tune. As both of them stand at the ballroom entrance, with great anxiety, Pratap reaches out for the switchboard to his left wall and turns on the chandelier this time. The music stops instantly as soon as the lights are turned on. The room is empty. Pratap feels a chill running down his spine on what he observes. The harmonium has shifted from the place where he had kept it all covered some hours ago. It is now placed at the center of the divan, with its bellow open and the velvet cover lying beside, all crumpled, as if someone has been playing it. Suddenly, the lights go off and there is complete darkness. Power cuts are not very frequent these days, so neither Pratap nor Hori is carrying a torch. While Hori tries to find his way to the chest of drawers placed at the other end of the room where candles and matches are stacked, Pratap makes his way to the divan, following a faint light generated by a lightning that strikes amidst the thunderstorm and rain. As he reaches the divan, Pratap stands still for a while looking at the harmonium. Hori lights a candle and is walking towards the divan. As the visibility starts getting clearer, Pratap, who at this point is extremely anxious, confused, and needless to say, a little scared, hesitantly sits on the divan and reaches for the harmonium. Suddenly, a hand grabs his wrist, a hand with no skin and flesh. As Hori gets closer, he drops the candle with a scream and faints on the floor. Thank you for listening to Timeless Stories with Nina. To connect with me, follow me on my Instagram and Facebook pages, #Timeless Stories with Nina. If you have an interesting story to share, write to me at the email address given in the description box. My next episode will be yet another interesting story. Till then, goodbye.